Alright guys, I'm here with my brother. I just told him what we're being for Halloween, which you guys don't know yet. You'll have to wait. But see, it's epic. We're down here, downtown somewhere, Chicago. Oh sorry, it's like really hard to wheel and vlog. And I'm about to go into something scary, but yeah, we're down here guys. We are getting ready for this press conference. My mom and pop are inside. I'm gonna try to give you guys some behind the scenes, and then I'll set up the tripod and I will roll the clip. So
see how it goes. Wish us luck.
Thanks guys. Peace.
So they asked when you started skateboarding. I said as a teenager, right?
12.
12. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yep, long time ago.
And they asked how your competition.
Wow.
That was
backwards.
That's very impressive.
Right.
I don't know how you do it.
I don't have that much bravery in me at all.
It's easier backwards than forwards.
Is it really? Yeah. So you're not looking at what you're going, or
well,
like
you just have a better railing like angle.
I see.
So.
It was impressive.
You ready, Mom?
What are you doing? Taking pictures?
No, I'm vlogging.
Oh. Yeah. Oh yeah, she's a vlogger. You can all subscribe, please. She's trying to get a lot of subscribers.
Well, what do you vlog about?
Her life.
Yeah, mostly life, but WCMX and wheelchair accessibility.
Nice.
So
She's pretty funny actually.
That's great. What's
Just
your
go to
channel
YouTube.
called?
Tia Pearl WCMX. It's
Comes from like a really decent family.
Yeah, that's basically.
You're recording it this way.
that was just coincidental. I'm sorry.
Did you check out her new camera?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Her birthday just passed, and she used all her birthday money to get this camera.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Because like he saw that I had the one of the Rebel models, and then he was like, look
Johnny
out,
in
world.
California?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
because he is a photographer, you know.
Castillo.
So then I told him about, he said, what lens did you get? And I told him it came with one. And then I was like, but I want the 50. And he's like, oh, that's a good one. That's highly desired. I could tell you have good taste, you know.
Oh, cool.
So then he told me the one I should get after that. So he's like giving me tips and stuff. So I think when I go out there next, I'm going to visit him.
That'd be awesome. That was
They
the
had just
decor
moved
back
in the
then.
road.
My cousin's a really good photographer, so he's told me a lot. But oh my God, my hand's kind of shaking.
Let's talk about what we got going here. It's a press conference. It does seem like people are interested in your story.
Is it okay that the Northwestern students are in here?
I think it's okay.
They've never done me wrong yet. So.
Well, I mean, and the point is we have nothing that we're not afraid to say to the world, which is what you're about to do. You know, and I guess conventional wisdom in the criminal defense world that Pat and Jody Brexton, you probably wouldn't say a word. You play it safe. But as we talked about before you guys got here, now we are sort of going on offense, and we're speaking up for yourselves because it's your turn to speak up for what happened to you and how unfair it was. And I'll talk a little bit.
I was in the shower actually. That's where I do my practices, and I planned on keeping it very short and sweet, but not naming people's names or anything like that. I don't want to do that on this.
That's good.
Give us a little preview.
Yeah, let's do
Well, I really don't have anything rehearsed, really, because I didn't know. But basically, I just wanted to. I probably will start out saying, on December 27, 2002, my life and my children's life were turned upside down because of I don't know how I was going to word that part, a tragic event that I witnessed, or that I don't know, happened to me. And I could go on and on because I was going on and on in the shower. I'm like, I can't go on and on. Things that happened to my son, things that happened to my daughter. But basically, they ripped apart a family. And we've all suffered, not just me, my kids, my parents, my siblings, things I've missed I wanted to go over, like I've missed births, I've missed weddings. Nothing can get that back, but I would like to have some justice. Basically, that was pretty much.
That's great. I will have talked first, so I will explain that you were wrongfully convicted and explain how you got wrongfully convicted. So you're talking about how it's affected you.
Yeah.
And I think one theme I'm going to try to hit too is that there are other people that are accused of this crime, and the science just doesn't back it up.
And that was the other thing. Was hopefully, my case can be used.
I'm proud of you for taking this step because people need to know this. It can happen. It can happen.
Yeah.
People's lives and your children's lives. And I don't think your children should talk, but I
Yeah.
think you should talk for them.
Yeah, I will.
Do you think that
Sorry, I'm getting emotional. Oh, there's my other ones.
For her family?
You know, we also,
You don't have to answer everything.
exactly, I was just gonna say that. You know, and if a question comes in, it's awkward, I'll jump in and be like, you know what, we're not gonna answer it, or I'll answer it for you.
Right.
Because, you know, if I say it, then you can't use it against you. So we'll be a team up there, and, you know,
Okay.
I will be the fullback. So.
Sorry. I'm trying not to cry. I'm gonna go.
You Northwestern guys and girls, you were part of the exoneration team, were you Medill students, or what's up?
There's subsequent
Yeah,
students.
yeah, we weren't ever the team that helped Jenny, but we're a new group of students.
Yeah, we're working on another picture of the actual.
Make sure we make room for Pat and Jody, so you guys got it wrong. Hello, everybody. My name is John Lovey. I'm an attorney here at Lovey & Lovey, and I'm also joined by attorneys Jody Garvey and Pat Blegan from Blegan & Garvey, and we represent Jennifer Del Prete. Jennifer's joined here by her children, Draven and Tia, her father, Wes in the back there, and some supporters. Today, Jenny filed a federal civil rights complaint arising out of her wrongful conviction for a murder she didn't commit. Back in 2002, she was a daycare worker whose job it was to take care of children. She was a loving and nurturing caretaker whose only mission in life was to protect and take care of little kids. And unfortunately, one of the babies in the daycare center was undergoing some illness, and she was on antibiotics, and she had some swelling in her brain, which could be caused by any kind of natural cause imaginable. And the baby got sick. Jenny tried to do what she could to help the baby. The baby went to the hospital, and about 8 months later, the baby died. Jenny's nightmare occurred when the authorities decided that Jenny must have murdered this child. As absurd as that sounds, that's what the science suggested to the police officers, because the baby obviously couldn't talk, being just 3.5 months old. But the police formed a hypothesis that it must have been shaken baby syndrome. And you know, back in prior decades, there was thinking, really somewhat some hysteria, that kids who died of natural causes, because that does happen. Children can have you know, diseases, they can have reactions to vaccines, they can have innocent falls. There can be a lot of reasons why a child would be injured, but the defendants in the case, the people that Jenny is suing, latched onto the hypothesis that she must have shaken the child to death. And they solicited an evangelistical type doctor who wrote a report saying that the only possible cause that killed this baby was shaken baby syndrome, and that the injury had to have happened immediately prior to when the distress occurred, which is when she was in Jenny's care. Now, science has debunked those hypotheses. There was a time when courts operated under the assumption that if you had this, what's called the trilogy of symptoms, which is edema, which is bleeding, and hematoma, which is swelling, that meant shaken baby. Science has looked at that and has tested it, and it has evolved, and now science understands that there are many, many causes that can cause those kinds of injuries. But back then, Jenny was arrested, and what the police did was suppress a letter which from another doctor, a different doctor, who expressed doubts, who explained that A, this wasn't necessarily shaken baby, and B, it didn't necessarily happen immediately before the child went into distress, which was when she was in Jenny's care. And that letter was suppressed for about 10 years, and wasn't until almost a decade later, when a FOIA request by some Medill journalism students, some of whom, some Medill students are here, did a FOIA request. Alex Hampel in particular did excellent investigative journalism, found the letter, and the letter showed that the doctors actually did have doubts, and it was not the unequivocal diagnosis that they made it seem at Jenny's trial. So her conviction, thanks to excellent work by Blegan and Garvey, one of the best criminal defense firms in the city, got her conviction vacated and overturned, and that, of course, ended her nightmare. She had been sentenced to 20 years and served almost 10. but it doesn't give her back what she's lost, and that's why she's here today. You know, what she has lost is, you can't put it into words. Her children, Tia and Draven, were 7 and 15 at the time. She was taken from them. They basically had to grow up without a mother for 10 years, all for nothing, because Jenny didn't harm anybody and certainly didn't murder this child. Now, Jenny's going to talk a little bit about the effect it's had on her life, but I do want to say generally that Jenny is not the only victim of the sort of hysteria about shaken baby. You know, there was a time when the medical profession believed that if you had these symptoms, if you had swelling in your brain and some bleeding and other symptoms, that necessarily meant that you had been died a violent death at the hands of an adult. And that was just a hypothesis at the time. But sometimes courts don't do a good job with medicine. You know, we hear all the time now about some of the science being debunked. Things like hair microscopy or bite mark science. You know, at a time when people were convicted, legitimate scientists believed that there was scientific validation, that there was corroboration for these theories, just like the shaken baby hypothesis. But as science marches on, sometimes that science is debunked. And that's what happened here. There was doctors who testified in earlier decades that they believed that if you had this swelling on the brain and there was no other explanation, because a 3.5-month-old baby couldn't explain, that necessarily meant a violent death. But science has since caught up that there's obviously a lot of other explanations. And more importantly, doctors were testifying in court that if you had these symptoms, that meant that the symptoms had to have onset almost immediately before. So tragically, the people who were getting accused and convicted were the daycare workers who were in the last custody of the children. So if you had the misfortune of being a daycare worker who was in charge of a baby when the baby went into extreme distress, those daycare workers were arrested, and sometimes cases like Jenny's case, they were convicted. And it's a tragedy because science now knows that there can be a latency period, 48 hours up to a week, from when you have an injury until you manifest symptoms. So, you know, science moves forward when it gets more evidence. Courts move sometimes too slowly. You know, courts are based on precedent. They're based on the past. And courts could do a much better job and should do a much better job of re-examining when science advances and letting go of convictions that can't stand evidence. And that's what happened in Jenny's case. It took the courts to overturn her conviction, and we're hopeful that the Will County Prosecutor's Office will do justice and let the case be done. But Jenny it's not done for Jenny because so much was taken from her. She is now filing this civil rights lawsuit seeking justice for the 10 years that she lost as a result of all this. And at this time, Jenny's going to speak a little bit about what the effect this has had on her and her family.
Yeah, can we go to Mike John?
So I can bring this down a little bit.
Is
that right?
That's good, thank you. That's good.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Lindell Prete, and I'm here just to talk briefly about my nightmare. On December 27, 2002, I was taking care of not just my son, who was 5 at the time, but about 5 other children. One of the children had stopped breathing. I called 911, I performed CPR, and my journey to the worst nightmare I could ever imagine started. After I spoke to people at the home, including 2 detectives and some technicians from the ER, the baby in the case went to the hospital. I was very upset that day after it happened. I remember calling my father, telling him what happened. I was crying. I was very upset. This is somebody I cared for, I loved, my kids loved. We were all like a family. And my dad said, "Don't worry, hon, you did everything you could. You'll probably get an award for saving a life." But that did not happen that day. And it did not happen any days after that. Within 2 months, I was charged with a Class X felony for assault, shaken baby syndrome. I was arrested, put on bond that my family raised and my church raised for me. Within, I think, 9 months, she had died. I was at home trying to live as halfway a normal life as possible with my 2 children. I got a phone call from my first attorney saying she passed and they might change the charge. And that they did. They changed it to first-degree murder. I had to surrender myself. My dad drove me to the police station. I cooperated. I talked to detectives without a lawyer because I didn't know any better, and told them everything I could. Fast forward to March 4th, 2005. I decided to do a bench trial with no jury because I wasn't really explained the process or my options. And the judge convicted me. I was torn away from my kids. My daughter was at a high school sleepover that weekend. I was supposed to be there that Sunday for a family function, and I never showed up. My son was left with my best friend, Sean, and Greg, who was his Cub Scout friend when they were 3, my proxy son, and I never came and picked him up. He was 7. She was 15. It's been horrible. My daughter, I missed her getting her license, her high school graduation. I missed my son's graduation. My son was bullied in school because of this, really badly. My daughter ended up having hernia surgery. She used to be a skateboarder and a dancer. She's now in a wheelchair, and I wasn't there during that time. This didn't just happen to me. My entire family has been affected. My kids were from 2 different fathers, and they had to get separated when I went away. They lost their community, they lost their friends, they lost their school. They've both been to more than 2 high schools. Bullying, making fun of. I was in the paper, everywhere, headlines. I was told I couldn't go to my son's school anymore, so when I was home, and that changed a lot too. People chastised me, they made fun of my kids, they made fun of myself, my parents, my siblings. I have a sister and 2 brothers. I've missed their weddings. I've missed the births of my nieces and nephews. I've missed some certain deaths of loved ones. Nothing can compensate for the tragedy that we all went through. But I'm hoping that we can get some justice, and I could be proud to be in America and know that although we can't get our time back that we missed, I would just like to feel like I was acknowledged. Last year in August, the judge that convicted me overturned my case. When I found out about the letter, I was very, very bitter, very angry. I lost faith in God. I lost faith in America. I've been through a lot. The decade I went to prison, I had never been arrested in my life, besides maybe a traffic ticket. I didn't know what I was going into, and it's like a whole different planet. I've been raped. I've had my nose broke twice by inmates. I chose to be in protective custody for a year, where you come out for a half an hour every day, because it was so scary for me there. I was labeled a baby killer. I've had to live with that for over 10 years, and I've never harmed anyone. Sorry. I don't know if anything could make up for what we've been through, but I know that I've never stopped fighting to get home to my kids and get to my family. I want my case to be an example so that I can help other people, because there are hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people that have the same nightmare that I've gone through. My parents taught me to be strong, to have faith, to have hope, and to be positive, and they never took that from me. And that's why I'm standing here today. I just want justice. I want people to know that I did not harm anyone. I did nothing but try to help her. And it makes me very angry and very disappointed in the system that I could be railroaded the way I was. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say right now.
All right. There's no questions.
Hi, John, if you could describe some of the specific allegations here, the fabricated evidence.
Well, what we learned, Jenny learned more than a decade after the fact, was that there had been a letter written by a different doctor, basically blowing holes into the prosecution's case and expressing doubt. And when Jenny went to trial, the doctor who's been sued here testified unequivocally that it could only be shaken baby and that it had to have happened right when Jenny was around the child. And we now know that the police and the doctors had evidence that that wasn't true and that they suppressed it. And under the laws and the rules of the criminal justice system, you're supposed to disclose exculpatory information. You're supposed to turn over stuff to the defense that would help you cross-examine your accusers. But since that was suppressed, that was withheld from Jenny and it violated her constitutional rights.
Is there a chance for criminal prosecution on the part of the police officers and the investigators involved in this case?
Well, as you may know, I've done a lot of wrongful conviction cases, and the criminal justice system is not perfect. Sometimes innocent people get convicted for crimes they didn't commit. It's one thing to hope that those people can get justice and get released from prison and be able to live the rest of their lives. The system has not yet shown a willingness to re-examine what happened. Why did somebody get wrongfully convicted? Maybe there should be accountability. I would hope that the authorities would look hard at this case and try to get some justice and accountability for what went so terribly, terribly wrong, but that's a question for the prosecutors.
What's the status of the Will County case?
The conviction has been vacated, so it's on appeal. The state is appealing. They're asking the appellate court to reverse, and basically there's an order for a new trial if they lose that, and then it will be up to Will County what they're going to do.
And basically you believe that, as Jennifer said, she was railroaded in part because someone wanted to establish a reputation for herself?
Well, what's alleged in the complaint was there was a doctor who at this time in the early 2000s was starting a task force to try to get momentum behind shaken baby prosecutions. And as I said, the medical profession, some people in it had hypotheses that if you had this constellation of symptoms that it had to be a violent shaken death, and they were trying to get attention to it and trying to get acceptance in courts. So that doctor had a motive to try to prove that this was shaken baby, and that doctor had a motive to disregard the evidence that proved otherwise.
Are you suggesting it's a violation of constitutional and their civil rights because science has changed? It's kind of like the Salem witchcraft trials that you're suggesting. With the hysteria at the time, but science changes, and to the extent they believed it at the time, should they then pay a price later on?
Yeah, nobody is suing anybody for science changing. While it is true that the science on which Jenny was convicted has since been debunked, and that she wouldn't be convicted today based on that bogus science, just like bite mark science and hair science that's used in courts has sometimes been debunked. That's not the basis of the lawsuit. The reason Jenny's civil rights were violated, the reason she's seeking vindication in court, is because there was evidence at the time that cast doubts on the prosecution's case. The rules required the police to turn that over. They didn't, and as a result, her constitutional rights were violated. And when that came to light through the great work of the Northwestern journalism students and her criminal defense attorneys, White and Garvey, the courts acknowledged that she shouldn't have been convicted and vacated her conviction. So once the evidence came to light, had it not been suppressed, she wouldn't have been convicted.
So that might be, I guess, a Brady violation.
It's called a Brady violation.
It's a Brady violation.
Right.
Are there a lot of cases where Brady violations lead to 1983 actions, or is this the first of its kind?
No, there are cases where, if you're wrongfully convicted, that doesn't necessarily mean you have a right to sue the police or the prosecutors or any such thing. If your constitutional rights were violated in the course of your conviction, as Jenny's were, then you do have a lawsuit, and that's exactly what Jenny's alleging here, that her constitutional rights were violated when she was railroaded because the police suppressed exculpatory information called Brady violation. All right.
So, just to follow, so a Brady violation can be a violation of their constitutional rights. That's been established.
A Brady violation is a violation of constitutional rights. Everybody has a due process right. That's what a Brady violation is. The Supreme Court said that if you're accused of a crime, the prosecutors don't have to just give you the information that points at your guilt. You have a constitutional right to all the evidence, good and bad, including the stuff that points to your innocence, including the stuff that would help you cross-examine the accusing witnesses. So it's at least the early 60s, the Brady case made clear that all of us, thankfully, have that constitutional protection. We have a Brady right to exculpatory material, information that would help you prove your innocence. Jenny, prepare your defense.
We never saw that.
And that letter was suppressed and her constitutional rights were violated, and so now she's bringing this civil lawsuit based on that violation.
Jennifer, can you just talk briefly about what your life's been like, what you've been doing since you've been out?
Well, sure. I pictured it. I'd come home and hang out with these two like I always did, but that wasn't the case. My daughter's married with a child, living in a whole different place. My son's living with his father, and things were nothing like they were when I left. We had to get to know each other again. My son was 7 years old. When I came home, he was, what, 17? Total different person. He's got facial hair now, and my daughter's got her own life. It took the church that has been there for me since day one, actually contributed money to help me with legal fees and everything. Hickory Hills Presbyterian Church, they were pretty much the first people I came to see after. But I did switch to the house arrest.
The WGN band?
Yep.
Did you see the interviewer, the Fox guy outside doing the interview?
Yep.
Or the report? Did you see the Herald?
Yep. Did you
There's
see
already reports
you?
on
I
the
saw
internet.
you.
Oh, really? Yeah, there's a
reaction already.
story on the Herald.
Well, there's going to be one every
I'll
5
show you.
minutes, trust me.
Kathy found it.
Wait till the
You should
police
put it
find
on
out.
Google. My sister-in-law, Kathy, the lawyer.
Draven, strike a pose.
I'd like to-
Ooh, boy. People are going to screenshot that. They gon' tag you, boy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, so I don't watch it, but my papa's here telling us, along with my brother Greg, they're telling us that this place was on
Saturday Night Live.
Saturday Night Live.
Cheeseburger.
I think that's the 11th time I've heard that.
Chips, no problem.
Well, we're telling the vlog now.
Oh, yeah.
So we're at this place that's on. But we got fries. I got fries. Draven got fries. I got fries.
We're the fry guys.
Fry guys!
It's just because our nerves were shot and we just got to settle it out.
Yeah, and I started my day with Chipotle, you know. So.
Chipotle?
Yeah. I said, got nervous, got Chipotle.
Great our new slogan.
Yep, Draven got me Chipotle gift card for my birthday.
You know what happened to me? First time
And
I
they got
went,
their dinosaurs.
sick as a dog.
No,
Too fresh or something.
Dinosaur season 1 and 2.
Never went back.
You guys ever watch Dinosaurs? It's the best show.
I have no idea.
Alright, I'm gonna keep eating my fries, because that's what I do, yo.
Oh, your guy.
Alright guys, so for your sake, I already pulled up my pants, but I just would like to make note that this accessible restroom, I'm not even sitting, I'm like squatting, see, is not that accessible because look at how far away the toilet paper is. I mean, I can just barely reach it from the toilet. Hang on, I gotta get in my chair. So, I mean, people need to make note of that. Like, this is a lot of room. Look, these are giant tiles. I mean, look, here's my good foot on the tile. So they're easily like 16-inch tiles or something. So I mean, look how many inches that is from the toilet to there. Nice and spacious, but nah, guys, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. Other than that, I think we're good. Oh, I'm crashing anyways. Okay, fine. Yeah, we're okay. This is decent. I was like, I don't think I missed anything because that was, 11 and then 18. So.
Yeah.
You guys know where we are. You go out with Draven, you get Starbucks.
It's a tradition.
The Draven Lee signature. Oh man, there we are. Me and my bro.
Cannot get Starbucks.
I know. He just took me to Five Below. Is dope. Let's talk to this lady.
Hope they don't do the webcam thing. Because they do that at Starbucks now.
They're like, oh, we see you with your
Yeah.
camera, man. You can order for yourself and then I'll order.
Alright. If they're ever going to take our order.
Hello, can I get you?
There we go. Can I get a venti caramel frappuccino?
Venti caramel frappuccino?
Yep, and then...
Anything else?
And then can I get a tall passion iced tea lemonade with half sweetener?
With no sweetener?
Just half, please.
Anything else?
That's it.
886.
Thank you. Oh, sweet. Wait till you guys see what Draven got me for my birthday. Well, I think I mentioned this. I don't know if I actually showed you guys. If you the real OG, you know this.
Not the mama.
If you don't know Not the Mama, stop watching my vlog. No, I'm kidding, but seriously, do yourself a favor and search this. What year was this, Draven?
Like 1992, I think. 1992 or 1994.
So early 90s, made in here in America,
yep.
USA.
It's Jim Henson who produced it.
So
well, I think he was dead by the time it came out, but his
epic.
family produced it.
Epic comedy, epic show. Nothing like it was ever made again, like for real.
It's the greatest show. I still watch it, and it's so smart.
It's so smart.
Like
yeah, tell them about it, Dre.
Yep. They get into religious topics and vegetarian topics and
I love
transgender topics. It's so weird for a puppet show.
And for the year, and I love the episode when the dad, like, he has to support the family and find a new job or whatever. And he's out in the woods, and he's like, like, I don't know, man. It's so real, but it's dinosaurs. Puppets, like you said.
Yeah. Animatronics, puppets.
Yeah.
It's not real dinosaurs. Just clarifying that.
They're not real?
I'm so sorry to disappoint you.
Wait, I'm going to
So you probably think she's gonna be in like a viral video.
Right.
Like,
don't record me. Alright. Oops, I took yours.
Oh.
Don't worry, I didn't touch it though. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go, bro.
Thank you.
We got the goods. We're rolling. Get out of here. Get out. They're coming for us. Who? I have no idea. I'm just blabbing.
The Starbucks employees.
Oh, go.
For getting them on video. Shy here.
You guys, I'm literally just trying to figure out where to go right now. So I'm driving. Alright guys, I'm gonna put you down so I can get out of here. Alright guys, my brother's leaving.
I'm out of here. So long, farewell.
No, I feel like I want to cry every time I gotta leave you though. But he's gonna come visit soon. We're also gonna go see Paramore, which of course we can't bring this camera in. I wish we could, but they'll probably be like, no press cameras.
It's the Lux VIP. We probably
be like, we're press, get a press pass.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
But we're going to Paramore soon.
September 17th.
Riot Fest. Catch us there. Gang, no. Peace out to my brother though.
Glad to have been here. And yeah, I'm awkward with goodbyes.
Got all that even though I wasn't trying. Oh my god, I'm still recording. Stop recording, okay. Guys, I'm once again outroing on the S5. I know I said I wouldn't be using it anymore, but I am. And I know this is weird lighting, but I like it right now. So anyways, that was the press conference. I just left it recording, obviously, because I needed to be up there. And surprisingly enough, it got almost all of it, except the very, very end. For some reason, it cut off. But I'm glad I got almost all, it was about 30-ish minutes of the press conference. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you're able to support me and my family and what we've gone through. Words can't really put into words all the emotions that I was feeling like within the last 24 hours, but just was total roller coaster. Just be honest, that's really all I have to say. No matter what your career is or what you do, just be honest with people, because the fact that law enforcement and detectives and doctors could be that dishonest and really ruin our lives and mess up our whole family, it messed up a lot. I'm surprised that we're alive today, the three of us, myself, my mom, and Draven. So you guys just keep that in mind. I recently caught my own police chief in my small town lying, and that just is such a sucky feeling. So just tell the truth, be real, even if you get hurt in some way, your family members get hurt in some way, or they die, that is completely sad and horrible, but make sure you find out what really happened and don't just, blame whoever, because you can. So yeah, guys, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Don't forget I upload every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And what else is there? Oh, yeah. Stay positive. Keep rolling. Remember that I love you, and I'll see you guys next time. All right. Peace.